It is finally my time to reveal a card from the upcoming set, Archazia's Island. So far, I've revealed Ursa Vanessa, the 3-cost Clarabelle, and most recently, the legendary Wreck-It Ralph. Well, the card that I'm revealing today, you've already seen the artwork for, because it is, in fact, the artwork, or one of the 3 artworks, that's going to be on the booster packs for Archazia's Island. And this card is by artist Coney, who has done amazing cards like Prince John and also the promo Cuzco from the North American and European Championships. And the card is Mirabel Madrigal, the Hopeful Dreamer. It's an amber amethyst dual ink. It's 3 cost. It's inkable. It has a stat line of 1 strength and 3 willpower, which quests for 1. Storyborn Hero and Madrigal tags. She's evasive and she's Singer 5. My family's amazing and I'm in my family. So, what a artwork this is by Coney, who I've had the pleasure of meeting a couple of times. She signed my Prince Johns. Of course, Prince John, one of my favourite cards. Now, as much as I love the artwork and as interesting as this ability is, it's got a lot of competition in this sort of 3-cost slot in an amber deck, which is a Singer 5. You've got Ariel, the most obvious. You've got Gaston, which has a 3-3 stat line. You've got Gazelle, which has a 2-3 stat line in Quest for 2. You've also now even got the new legendary Aurora, which we covered in yesterday's video. Make sure you check that out, which is Singer 5. So it's a lot of competition. But Mirabel, very unique in the fact that she is evasive. She probably has the worst stats, I think, in terms of raw stats. But the best keywords, arguably, with evasive being really, really strong. Of course, the big question is, what on earth would you want to sing in Amber and Amethyst? So I got this card sent to me a few days ago, and I've been looking and searching to see if there's anything revealed already for this set, which might combine well with Mirabel. I haven't seen anything yet. So I'm crossing my fingers that maybe we see like a 5-cost Amethyst song, and suddenly this Mirabel might be amazing. It is also worth mentioning that the Madrigal theme deck is really an Amber and Amethyst combo. You've got Alma Madrigal, who allows you to search your deck for any Madrigal character. So there's some synergy there. The Amber and Amethyst cards, which you can sing together, are Look at This Family, as well as Second Star to the Right. And I think that Mirabel Madrigal, as time goes on, is going to be pretty good in the right deck. It's just, can you find the right deck for her? Obviously, she's very restrictive in the fact that she's Amber and Amethyst, and she has a lot of competition for places. At the moment, you would never really play a card like Ariel or any real Singer cards in an Amber and Amethyst deck. So I don't think Mirabel's going to jump into anything right now, but we have to keep our eye on the rest of the set and the rest of the reveals, because maybe all it would take is like 1 card, and suddenly you're like, okay, Mirabel Madrigal, I want to play, please. So big thanks to Ravensburger for allowing me to reveal this card. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Big shout out to Coney for the awesome artwork. It is a beauty. And it's really, really cool that every time I get to open boosters, I'm going to be specifically asking now for the lucky Mirabel Madrigal. I hope that the Mirabel Madrigal cards give you luck, because of course it is one of the artworks on the booster packs. So that's really damn cool. Thank you, Ravensburger, for the reveal. Let's look at the other cards. We've got about 12 or 13 of them. We've got Robin Hood, I for Detail, and I do want to shout out Card Market, who sponsor my channel. Big shout out to Card Market, great place to buy singles online in Europe. And Robin Hood, I for Detail, has support, and it quests for 1. There's been a heap of legends and tall tales about Robin Hood, all different too. It is a shift target, but it's probably not great. It's interesting that the Sapphire Clarabelle from yesterday's video is a 4-cost card with the same stats, except it quests for 2. And I was a lot more excited about that. But I think that's also partly because like a 3-cost in Sapphire is just a weird number anyway, right? Because you tend to ramp on turn 2. And the Clarabelle quests for 1 extra, and it's a much better shift target potentially. The Robin Hood I'm just not that convinced by. There is the potential of like an all-in support deck though, it's worth mentioning. The Clarabelle we looked at yesterday, for example, is some great synergy. This Robin Hood is going to have an extra power if you play Clarabelle, because the Clarabelle that costs 4 also gives your support characters +1 strength. So there's definitely the potential for an all-in support deck. It's not something we've ever seen work yet, but as you get more support cards, the more you have to consider the possibility of it. But I would imagine it's not going to be very competitive. Magical Maneuvers is a 2-cost action. Oh, I'm sure. It's fine if we move these traps around. Archazia won't mind a little magic, says Flora. Return chosen character of yours to your hand. Exert chosen character. That is very good. That is very, very good. I have to say, I'm particularly interested in playing magical maneuvers in a Robin Hood Sharpshooter deck. I have the playset of the Enchanteds, so of course the Robin Hood Sharpshooter comes to mind. But again, as we get more action cards, I think the better this Robin Hood card could become in other ink colors. I've only really liked playing it so far in Ruby and Emerald, but this card has potential. You could use it on you could return anything. You could return a rabbit, you could return an Elsa and replay it the same turn. Obviously, Elsa maybe not. But I think it's got big potential. Exerting an opponent's character is a big upside, and returning a character of yours to your hand can also be an upside. So I think this card might actually be a very serious card, particularly if you can fit in some action synergy. I think this is a really interesting one. I don't imagine it's going to be a card that you put in every single deck, and I don't necessarily think it's a card you would play 4 copies of, but even as just like a one-of tech card to surprise your opponent with, being able to exert opponent's characters is very, very strong. And being able to return characters of yours to your hand in Amethyst is also pretty strong. So I have to say I like the look of it. I think it might be good. I think it might see some competitive play. Very, very cool card. Wake Up Alice, 1 cost action, return chosen damaged character to their player's hand. Alice, will you kindly pay attention and recite your lesson? See, I've only got 1 voice. You might have been quite impressed by the last one. You're probably not going to be as impressed if I do the same voice for all of them. So this one is like a Mother Knows Best, but only for damaged characters, but it's an inkable action. It's honestly not bad. It's honestly not bad at all. Interestingly, this would be good in like a mill style deck where you're playing Steel and you're playing Emerald together and you have a whole new world. The big problem with a lot of cards like this is that you're just going to kind of run out of resources quite quickly in hand. It's the same with Mother Knows Best, unless you've got an abundance of card draw. It's definitely not a bad card. It's quite niche. It's got potential to see play in the right deck. Again, if you've got action synergy, most likely it's going to be some sort of Steel deck. I would wager it's not quite good enough, but it's got huge potential. I mean, it would be a massive, massive swing if you play this. You know, if you've got, imagine you've got like a Maui Half Shark deck as well, right? Where you play Wake Up Alice, you bounce something back to your opponent's hand for 1, and you gain a lore. That could be very, very strong. Could be very, very strong. Unconventional Tool, 1 cost inkable item in Ruby. Flaversham obviously is going to come to mind in Sapphire. Fixed in no time. When this item is banished, you may pay 2 ink less for the next item you play this turn. I use this one a lot more than you'd think, says Maurice, and maybe that's a hint towards some potential synergies. This one doesn't look great on the surface level, but you have to remember that Beast and Bell, the Ruby Sapphire starter deck cards, are synergizing with items. So I have a feeling that this one actually might be decent. We saw that there's like a Scrooge McDuck and Tamatoa item support as well in Ruby Sapphire. So like these all-in item decks, we know we have the Queen in Sapphire. There's also Oswald. So it's potentially you just want to play so many items. And I have to say, I think this one's actually probably got a fair bit of potential. It doesn't look good on the surface level. But look, Maurice says he uses them more than you'd think. And if Maurice uses it, Maurice is like the item expert. So I think this is one to keep an eye on. This is a awesome, awesome, awesome card. I absolutely love this one. It's a 1 cost inkable in Emerald. Emerald doesn't have an abundance of good 1 cost characters. You've got Curse Merfolk, which is uninkable. You've got Pegasus, which is very good. And you've got like vanilla stat line cards with 2 strength and 2 willpower. Pete has bad stats in the sense that it's got 1 strength and 2 willpower, the same as like the Clarabelle 1 does. And it quests for 1, which is very, very bad stats for a 1-drop. But the ability is incredible. Whenever you play an action that isn't a song, you may banish chosen item. I wasn't stealing it, I was just keeping it safe. Now, we've seen that there's a lot of item support coming in with this set. We know that there's like the new Ruby Sapphire item deck potentially, but I think in particular, Sapphire Steel is looking quite strong with some of the Sapphire cards we saw yesterday. Basically, Sapphire, pair Sapphire, and you've got a bunch of items. So having a way of dealing with an abundance of items with Emerald is something that's quite different. Again, like if you're playing like Ruby Emerald and an abundance of actions, it's also a pirate. And there's a Shift Pete that we're looking at in this very video. It's actually a Emerald Steel Pete, which is going to be coming up quite soon to keep an eye on. It does have bad stats. What's weird about this card is it's a 1-drop card that you don't really want to play on turn 1 necessarily. It's better later on. So that is a bit of a concern about it, but being able to remove an abundance of actions and be a shift target, and it's a pirate, it's a very, very interesting card. There's no doubt about it. Kuzco, Temporary Whale. This is also a very interesting card. And Emperor's New Groove. My favorite Disney film. It just is. 5 cost uninkable, 1 4-stat line, and it quests for 2. Don't you say a word. Once during your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, you may return chosen character, item, or location with cost 2 or less to their player's hand. Then that player draws a card. So I've seen a lot of people saying this card's bad, and it's a weird card, but it's got potential. Obviously, if you can like ramp in some way, most likely with Sapphire, but maybe also with Amber, with the Lantern, you could play this a little bit sooner than turn 5. Or you could play it on turn 5 and ink the same turn. Maybe if you've got like a Fishbone Quill, for example, as well. You could play this on turn 4. And ink immediately. It's probably not great. It's like stats aren't that impressive, but it's honestly not bad at all. Like you could return a Porpsicle back to your hand if you're playing some sort of like item, Sapphire, Amethyst, and then you would draw a card for putting the Porpsicle back and be able to replay the Porpsicle. So it really could run away with things quite quickly. But being able to bounce characters or items of your opponents with 2 cost or less back to their hand is definitely not bad. You can only do it once per turn. It's probably not quite good enough, but honestly, I saw a lot of people saying this card's really bad, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I don't think it's good, but like I could see a world in like a Sapphire Amethyst deck, probably in particular, where you could consider playing like this as a random one-off. Probably not. It's a very cool card though. I do like it. Maybe with in Emerald Amethyst with the Maleficent Staff, for example. You might just rather play like the Muses though to bounce things back to your opponent's hand, right? If you compare this with the Muses, yeah, it looks kind of bad. It looks really bad when you compare it to the Muses. The Muses is a very good card, and it is in a different ink color, of course. But it's probably not good enough. This card's very interesting. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Grunge? 2 cost inkable, the Cannon Expert, 2/2 stat line, quest for 1. It's got the stats of a 1 cost vanilla card, so the ability needs to be very, very good. Rapid Fire, whenever this character quests, you may pay 1 ink less for the next action you play this turn. He loves 2 things, explosions and even more explosions. I don't think it's very good. I think the ability is actually quite compelling, because having a reduction of actions in Emerald, Bend to My Will immediately comes to mind. Bend to My Will is an absolutely incredible card. I have been loving it this set. You can only really pair it reasonably well with Sapphire at the moment, because Sapphire is able to ramp. So cost reduction on a action is quite powerful potentially, but his stats are just so lackluster, and he has to quest in order to achieve just a 1 cost reduction. It's just not really, none of it impresses me particularly, right? Like if it was like for example, a 5 cost card with bigger stats and the same cost reduction, that would mean you could play the Bend to My Will on 6. Then at least you could see like a world it would work. Or if it was like a 4 cost with also kind of bad stats, but it reduced the cost by 2, but just like a 2 cost which reduces something by 1, it's just not going to be good enough, is it? For those stats. If it had like, thing is if it had like an extra stat somewhere, it would, I don't know, it would be like better than a vanilla card, but it's just not quite there, is it? It's just not quite there. Baymax's Charging Station is an item, 3 costs, which is very expensive for an item. And the ability is Energy Converter. Whenever you play a Floodborn character, if you used Shift to play them, you may draw a card. Battery at 100%, ready for action. It's bad. Sorry. It's just not good. Obviously, there's the new Baymax, which can shift onto anything. But it's like, okay, you pay 3 ink for Baymax Charging Station. That's very slow. How many things are you actually going to shift? Let's say you shift 2 things. Okay, congratulations. You played a 3 cost item, which drew you 1 card. Basically. Okay, it replaced itself and then added 1 extra card. So it was plus 1 hand size. for a 3-cost item? Probably not, right? Prob's not. Prob's not. This card, though, I like. Amber Ruby, one of my favorite ink color combinations, despite what the YouTube comments and the Reddit comments will have you believe. I love Amber Ruby. 4-cost uninkable with a 2/2 stat line, and it quests for 2. Get off my track! Sweet Revenge. Whenever one of your other racer characters is banished, each opponent chooses and banishes one of their cards. So it's like a Lady Tremaine effect on a 4-cost guy. I think this card's very good. The question is how good are the other racers? It's interesting that there's also like a new Mulan card, which is an Amber Ruby card, like a 6-cost Floodborn. It was in the first video in the playlist. And that was like returning a racer from your discard and adding it to your hand. And we were like, well, there's not that many good racers. Well, this one is pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. So I like this card. It does have bad stats though, but its ability is great, so who cares? What's really cool about King Candy is you can play King Candy and immediately trigger its ability, right? You could take a challenge with another racer, take a trade, and then bam, they've only got one other card. Maybe like they've put the beast down on the board, the sad beast, and you take out their other character while you sacrifice your own racer. Bam, King Candy can do something immediately. It is uninkable, but I think it's good. If racers are good, it's got potential. And obviously there's the Sugar Rush Speedway deck, which kind of fits the theme of racers. Maybe that's the way that that deck is going. I don't think that this is good right now. But if we could see like another like inkable racer or two come out this set, then I'm very interested. And I think we've only seen... I think this is only the second Amber Ruby dual ink we've seen so far, if I'm not mistaken. Here's the Pete I was talking about. Pete Space Pirate. 5/5, questing for 2, shift 4, frightful scheme. While this character is exerted, opposing characters can't exert to sing songs, and your pirate characters gain resist 1. Big shout out to Kenneth Anderson, the artist on this one. Friend of the channel. It's definitely an interesting card. Obviously, the most obvious fact is that you can shift it onto the Pete Games Referee, which is a very good card. But the thing is, the Pete Games Referee is not a great shift target. It's not a bad shift target, but it's not a great one because it's got 3/3 stats. So Pete Games Referee has good stats in its own right. So you could shift it onto Morph. Of course, you could also shift it onto this little fella as well. And of course, we've already seen like some pirate cards. Like there's a Smee card which has some synergy with pirates. So if you're all in on pirates, it could be good. Obviously, it's going to be a good counter to Amber Steel. Songs kind of fitting the theme with Pete. Worth noting, it gives itself resist. That's quite important. So if you could shift this in on turn 4 onto a Morph or onto a Pete, it's a 5/5 with resist 1 when it's exerted. So I suppose if you're challenging with Pete, it would still be ready and would not have resist 1, but when it's exerted, it will have resist 1. Quite interesting. I think it's for specifically Emerald Steel Pirate deck. It's not enough for me to be convinced that I want to play pirates. I'm sorry. I could be wrong because I was also saying the same about the Smee. I think it's really cool we're getting Emerald Steel Pirate support as like an all-in deck. This is what I love about the dual ink colors being this way. It's like really trying to push the Emerald Steel Pirate theme. For me, I just think we need a little bit more still. But that's like a decent Captain Hook. The thing is, like realistically, if you're playing Emerald Steel, I kind of still just want to play Diablo. I kind of still want to just play Prince John. And I kind of still want to just play discard cards. I'm not really that convinced I want to play pirates yet. But maybe I'm wrong. I would be happy to be proven wrong. Ruby Steel. We saw a great Ruby Steel card in yesterday's video. The new Mushu. And this is Mulan, the Imperial General. 7 cost, inkable. 5/6, questing for 2. Shift 5, evasive. The exceptional leader. Whenever this character challenges another character, your other characters gain. This character can challenge ready characters. So the Mushu card is very much supporting a Ruby Steel challenge everything deck. Obviously, you've got cards like Calhoun, you've got cards like Shere Khan. So Mulan is also like the same kind of theme. The thing is, it's very expensive, but a 5/6 evasive, take down a shark, if I'm not mistaken, but it would trade with a shark. I just think it's too expensive, realistically, to be any good. I don't think there's any good shift Mulan targets which come to mind. There's, of course, the 1-cost Mulan, but I don't think you'd want to play that in a Ruby Steel deck. It's more of like a Ruby Amber card because of the Rapunzel synergy. I don't think there's any other cheaper Mulans which come to mind yet. I think it's too expensive. It's just too slow. I would imagine that like Ruby Steel doesn't have an abundance of card draw still. You're still going to be relying on like the Sad Beast and Doc for your card draw. So including a 7-cost seems unlikely. Maid Marian. Big shout out to Emily Abadira, another friend of the channel, the artist on this one. 4-cost Inkable, Badminton Ace. Badminton Ace. I wouldn't mind a game of badminton against Maid Marian. 3/3, questing for 2. And it's, of course, Sapphire Steel. Good shot. During an opponent's turn, whenever one of your ally characters is damaged, deal 1 damage to chosen opposing character. That is spicy. Fair play. Your character's name, Lady Cluck. Gain, resist 1. So we saw the Lady Cluck yesterday get revealed. It's like a 2/7 bodyguard, 5-cost with ward. Sadly, it gets removed by Sisu. I don't think Maid Marian is very good. Fortunately, I think there's many, many better cards. Like we saw some Sapphire cards yesterday getting revealed. Like there's a Scrooge McDuck with a 4/4 stat line that quests for 2, and it can like put an item into your hand, and it can like be played for free if you have 4 items. When cards like that exist, I think Maid Marian is sadly not very good. But maybe if we get a bunch of Lady Clucks and you could build an all-out Lady Cluck deck, then we'd be talking. But I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Monsieur de Arc. This one's in French, but thanks to Musha Report. Big shout out to Musha Report. Honestly, they are my saviors, making me save a lot of time not having to search the web for all of these reveals. This is a very interesting 1-cost character. It's got a bad stat line, but its ability is great. Whenever this character quests, you may banish chosen item of yours to draw a card. It's a mini Hiram Flavisham. Whenever this character quests, you may banish a chosen item of yours to draw a card. That is not bad, is it? Particularly if you're going all out on these item decks and you just have a ton of them. But it does have bad stats. I can help you with your problem for the right price. It's an interesting one. The more I have actually thought about this card, the less I like it. It's definitely got potential. But like 1/2 stats is really, 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 really bad stats for a 1-drop. It really is. If you're shifting, suddenly this card is a lot more interesting. So like, for example, with the Baymax that can shift onto anything. Oh my god. This card's so good with the Baymax that can shift onto anything. I just thought about that. If you're wondering, what are you on about Baymax that can shift onto anything? Watch yesterday's video and check out the playlist for all the other card reveals. And check out Card Market, who sponsored this video. Thanks, Card Market. Yeah, this card's interesting. With the Baymax, oh, that is tasty. And also like a little lore symbol in the background. What was he saying? I can help you with your problem for the right price. We haven't seen much of Archazia, have we yet? This card's a banger. It's a new song in Amber. So much to give. Draw a card. That's a good start. Chosen character gains bodyguard until the start of your next turn. That's a very good card, mate. I think that's a very good card. Very, very good card. I think this might see competitive play in Amber Steel songs. Bodyguard's a great keyword. It's a song for Ariel. It replaces itself. It's ticking a lot of boxes. Especially if you're playing like the diggy hole. I hate that I have to call it that. But there you go. If you're playing that deck with the Doc and like a faster pace deck with Daisy, even giving like your Daisy Duck bodyguard or, you know, giving something like that bodyguard, it could be pretty difficult and annoying for your opponent to deal with. Pretty good card. We've got Cash Kim, the Ancient Ruler. You presume much to think you're welcome here. 4/3 stats, quest for 1. Same stats as a Madamin Fox without the bounce and without the rush. Madamin Fox is very good, but that's the reality. We've got La Aqua Ha Memoria. And this one is, you look at the top 4 cards of a chosen player's deck, either yours or your opponent's. And you can put them on the top of the bottom, I think. put one on the top and the rest on the bottom in any order. Kind of cool. Kind of cool. The problem with this card is it doesn't replace itself, but this has big potential with like Bruno Madrigal combo decks. Interesting artwork. Elsa and Anna like looking at a frozen thingamajigama-bobber. Very weird, isn't it? Is that a scene from Frozen and I'm just not aware? It's probably not very good. Doesn't replace itself. Oh, here's another racer. 2/2 stat line, quest for 1. Again, so this is like the stat line of a vanilla card that costs 1. So you need a really good ability for this to be worth it. It is Candlehead, which is quite funny because my little brother, shout out to my little brother Alfie, his nickname when we were younger was Candlehead. Winning isn't everything. When this character is banished, you may remove up to 2 damage from chosen character. Obviously, like when it's banished, it has an upside, so there's like arguably some synergy there with the King Candy we're looking at. But realistically, that's just not very good, is it? That's just not very good at all. Sorry, Candlehead. We've got Coda. Now, this is a unique card because I don't think we've ever seen a stat line like this. We do have a couple of other cards which quest for 3 and cost 3. We had the Caterpillar in set 2. We most recently have the Magic Carpet, which I actually think is very underrated. I've been thinking about throwing the Magic Carpet into Amethyst Steel. I'm playing in a tournament on Saturday, doing a live stream from Germany. And I'm then playing at a tournament the following week in Gamescom LAN. And I'm really thinking about Amethyst Steel aggro. I haven't played it since December. But that Magic Carpet card, which quests for 3, like with the fact that Maui Shark is so much in the meta, and it kind of like freezes your board and they play Pirates, I feel like you need to be quick. And that Magic Carpet, which is a 1/3, I think I'd rather have a 1/3 stat line on a card that quests for 3, but having a card like this in Amber, I think Coda's definitely very, very good. Amber's the main aggro deck. I think aggro is very underrated, like hyper aggro in general. I think it's very underrated. I really, really do. I haven't played it in ages, but this card's good. It's definitely good. And they asked me, how do you catch so many fish, Coda? And I said, you know me, I know how to catch fish. And they said, what did they say, Coda? What did they say, mate? I don't understand. Mufasa, I think it's called like Ancient Ruler or something. 4/4 stat line, quest for 1. It's just not very good. Do you see this pillar? Even after it is fallen, it can still serve a purpose. Wow, that's deep. That is deep, Mufasa. We've got 3 cards to go. And look at this one. All right. There's a lot going on here because it's a Merlin in Amethyst Sapphire. And obviously, it's a good shift Merlin target for the legendary from, I think, set 5. The Clever Clairvoyant. But maybe some Easter eggs in this card. 0/1 stat line. That is pants, innit? As stats go, that's about as bad as you can get. The only thing that could be worse than this is minus stats. 0 lore. What is the ability? Prestigitonium. Prestigitonium. Whenever this character quests, name a card, then reveal the top card of your deck. If it is the name card, put it into your inkwell face down and exert it. Bruh. That is potentially crackers. This can ramp on turn 2. So with Merlin, you now have the ultimate potential ramp, right? You could just play a deck of Merlins and like, okay, maybe a bad example, but let's just say 1,000,000 brooms. I mean, maybe, right? Play Merlin. So you quest, you say broom. Magic broom. Bam. You hit a magic broom and suddenly you play Tipo and suddenly you're at 5 ink on turn 3. That is like the ultimate ramp potential, right? Obviously, it's not going to happen very often. So you're probably more relying on synergy with this card, with cards like Merlin's Cottage, which shows you what card is on top of your deck. Bruno Madrigal comes to mind as well, like we saw a card earlier, like the Frozen card. But is this hinting towards Disney theme park cards entering Disney Lorcana in the future? And we saw Fabled as well. The set 9. It's like quarter 3 after the Reign of Jafar. Going back in time, maybe, like some merry-go-rounds. Are we going to see a new kind of Disney Lorcana card, which is going to be like some sort of like theme park ride? I don't know, maybe. Big shout out. I'm sorry it's escaping me who said it, but someone was in my LGS Discord touting this theory, so I can take no credit, and I'm so sorry to them that I've forgotten their name. Forgive me forever. Miss Bianca up next. 6 cost Inkable, 5/5 stat line quest for 1. I have a feeling this one's good. The ability is, if you have an ally character in play, you pay 2 ink less. So an ally is a keyword, a tag. We'll get to the top of this tower in no time if we work together, honey. Getting to the top of Archazia's tower, it seems like, Miss Bianca. This card's good. Ally is like one of the most common tags. And in a Sapphire Steel deck, for example, if you're ramping, you could play this on turn 3. There's a 5/5 stat line that quests for 1. Scrooge McDuck is an uninkable 5/5 that quests for 2. And that card sees a lot of play. Not a lot of play, but a decent amount of play. This card is arguably better. I guess the question is Tipo an ally? If Tipo is an ally, this card is very, very solid. Tipo is an ally. So you can go Tipo, bam, Miss Bianca. That is very spicy in it. You can't really go wrong. Miss Bianca seems good. I don't know if she'll actually see that much play, but she's definitely good enough to see play. For sure. For sure. Last card is Orville, the Albatross Heir. 3-cost Inkable 4/3, quest 4/1. Welcome aboard, folks. During your turn, whenever you have a character named Miss Bianca or Bernard in play, this character gains evasive. Usually these kinds of cards don't really do that much, to be honest. If they're relying on other characters, it tends to not really work out too well in a competitive setting. Sneak peek of a new Diablo that is in Amethyst and Emerald, but at the time of recording, the whole thing hasn't been revealed. But we'll have that in tomorrow's video. So make sure you subscribe for that. See you guys very soon. Thanks for watching. Big shout out again to Ravensburger for allowing me to reveal the wonderful Mirabelle Madrigal. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you guys supporting the video. Thank you very much. And see you all very soon. And also thanks to Card Market. Saturday, I'm doing a live stream from Germany where I'm playing in a big tournament, which includes players like Dinkham Fan and Moyen. And I'm going to win the whole thing. Maybe. And then the following weekend, I'm also doing a stream on Monday from Germany where I'm playing win an Enchanted tournament in Berlin. And then I'm in a different German city. I'm in Cologne the next weekend playing in some more tournaments. So lots of cool Digital Lorcana live streams. Make sure you subscribed if you want to see me playing some tournaments over the next week or two. I appreciate you all very much, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.